Ball practice one in the books on a beautiful Tuesday. It feels like it's been forever since we last played our game, which it has been. But it's nice to get out there and actually do football. A lot of good and a lot of the bad. It looked like it's been a long time since a lot of us have gone out there and thrown a football, caught a football, pretended to make tackles, all those things. But saw some good things, some flashes from some guys. I know I'm going to get asked about competition, all this stuff. It's way too early to tell. The biggest thing I wanted to see those guys out there and have an understanding of what we're doing schematically and play with great effort. And I got to see that. But it's really early. Like I told the guys, we only get 15 guaranteed opportunities, and we're down one. So what did we do with that? Got to learn from this film. Got to find ways to get better and continue to focus on the fundamentals. You often get asked in spring, what's the focus? I think the focus with this many new guys is just get really, really good at the fundamentals. Let's be great at those things. We'll have another helmet practice, and then Saturday we'll be in pads. And, you really can't dictate or look at really what anything looks like until you get some pads on. Everybody looks okay running around. We got length, we got size, and we got speed. But too many mistakes just in general with, hey, making sure I'm stepping with this foot, make sure I'm doing those things, and that's on me to get fixed. All in all, it was just an okay day. But I'm excited to learn from this film and the guys to be able to see themselves and come back out here on Tuesday to compete. Next Thursday, excuse me.
I know you have a lot of new guys. When you look at last year's true freshman and Brady Clues, how is he coming along in terms of just his body and mentality and how he's tackling the spring?
Yeah, I think what's huge for Brady, he's a guy that was here this last spring, and he was a lost puppy, right? Just swimming at where do I go for stretch, where do I do those things, and just trying to learn the offense. And I think for a lot of those guys, it takes almost a full 6 months to understand, hey, this is what I'm supposed to do as a college football player. This is what an offense looks like. This is how I'm supposed to do those things. And he has a great skill set. And being here last spring, he was able to use that in the season. And we saw him play a little bit, especially in special teams as the season went on. And now we've seen the growth and maturity, a full year in the weight room, being a part of the system. So now he's getting confidence, even though, on paper, he's still a freshman in college. He's gained unique experience a whole year that we've got high expectations for him. And he's doing some really good things. He did some nice things today, but I think he's excited. This is the most reps he's ever gotten. And so him to go out there, and we don't go first, second, third team, anything like that. Just go out there and compete and get a bunch of reps was great for him. And he's a guy that we're really going to hold accountable to make sure he's progressing every single day because we have high expectations for him this season.
But he's in a unique position where, like last year he was a freshman, and then just a year later, he's almost like one of the veterans of that room in terms of being in Memphis. Just how unique is that?
Welcome to college football 2025. I think that's something a lot of staffs are dealing with, but it is. And so, with a guy like Brady, when I met with him in January and even discussing and having discussions with him now, is like, look, you understand the way we do things, right? What our cultures are all about, what it means to be all in, how we practice, how we work. You understand the scheme. So you're no longer the baby 17-year-old that doesn't shave, learning, hey, where do I go to my locker, all those things. Now you've got to show maybe the 23-year-old that's coming in, hey, here's what we're looking for at the top of this route, or here's how coach wants this thing done. And that is unique. But guess what? It makes them grow up quicker. And I think naturally what happens is that that progression off the field, Frank, allows him to grow organically on the field, right? Like he's going to have more success, he's going to have more confidence, and sometimes it's unique, right? Because he is, whether he's 18, 19 years old, he feels like he's a leader, and I'm great with that. And what does that look like? Maybe that is teaching guys the playbook in that room, showing those guys how it should be done, and that's huge. You don't want to have a ton of that throughout, but look, we got new faces everywhere, and some of them have some young guys that are the only ones that are here. Very few are having guys that are going into their senior year that are back for another, and in that room especially.
You look at that room with the receivers, Rock, Jameer, Kobe gone, a lot of new faces, and then obviously guys like Brady who have been around. What are you looking for in terms of the competition? Like, how do people separate themselves?
Yeah, I mean, it's Jonah, it's obviously too early to figure out who the heck is what. What we're doing is letting everybody get a ton of reps and kind of getting a feel for, one, right, do you have a full understanding of this offense? And then, how do you separate yourself? It's not just making the big explosive play, but what are you doing with that 3-yard catch, right? Are you turning around, getting north and south and getting 5 yards? Or are you able to make the consistent play? Where are you helping out on special teams? And I think that's one of the things that Coach Smith and I both agree on. Like, we're going to ask more of our wide receivers to be involved in special teams. We've used a lot of safeties and a lot of corners over the years and linebackers, But, man, we got some wide receivers with length. Like, let me see you guys step up. I don't care if you're playing 40 plays a game. Let's get 12 plays on special teams. And so we're challenging them. Hey, you want a spot at the table, you're going to have to be able to play some special teams. You're going to have to step up in that role. And then going out there at that position, really, right, everybody flashes. I mean, we can go put on me and you could go out there, and we're probably not the most athletic. You're more athletic than me, and we could put some Twitter highlights on there, and people are like, whoa, those guys are really special. Look at those catches. We drop every other one. But we could cut it out and make us look like we're getting good verticals. But for wide receivers, how consistent are they? And that's why I want to say, like, if Brady had a good practice today, well then, man, Thursday may be better. Saturday may be better. And those guys that maybe didn't do as well, okay, what are you going to learn from? And consistency is what we want to see in that room. Not just flash play here or there, but can they go out there and make plays on a consistent basis?
I know you mentioned the other day, but the spring game, I saw even today, another team that you had some, you said they're not going to play a spring game. When you made that decision, like what went into that in terms of like pros and cons that you were kind of wrong?
There was never a thought in it. First and foremost, when I saw that, my number one thing is, can we put on a showcase for our fans? We got the best fans in the country, and a lot of them look forward to that. In fact, it was interesting when we moved it from Friday night to Saturday and tried to make it more events. A lot of the fans were like, man, that's great. We really appreciate that. That allows us to be able to get to that. Allows us for, some people talked about tailgating instead of having to get off work early to be able to enjoy that. What the Highland 100 does with the Barbecue Fest. I know the school is planning a ton of great things. It gets a lot more people involved, and I think we saw that last year. And sometimes we're always fingers crossed, right? We're hoping the weather's like it is today. But when thinking about the spring game, the first thing I thought about was, man, the fans. It's something for them to enjoy. So if we can get 15,000 fans out there to come see the product that we have, we got so many great young men and a lot of new faces. So that's the encouragement. Go ahead and put that out there for those guys to come see who their Memphis Tigers are in 2025. And then it's another added true competition practice. I mean, it's a scrimmage. And it's another opportunity. And if we're going to go out there and Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium and scrimmage, let's let the fans look at it. Let's let them see it. Let them be a part of what this is. Hopefully they come away and say, man, there's some really impressive players. We want to be a part of that. And maybe it's a new season ticket holder. Maybe it's somebody else saying, you know what? I've got 4 season tickets. I'm going to buy 2 more just because I believe in what they're doing. And so all those things are nothing but positive that come from that. And I get, right, a lot of these coaches say we're worried about injuries. We're worried about somebody stealing our players, all that stuff. The reality of it is, knock on wood, if you're having 15 practices, what's the difference between a fan being there and not, right? And it's no different than what is, somebody going to see if someone's seen it on film or not. The players have the access to their film as well. So, neither here nor there. Everybody has their certain reasons for it. The biggest reason we're doing it is for our fans. And the second reason, it's another opportunity for us to go out there and compete at a high level.
Are you, surprised at all just how many teams have gone away from that?
I am, but nothing shocks me more in college football, right? The number of years you've been here, every year it's like, does that surprise you? Nothing does anymore, right? There's going to be something that's going to occur 6 weeks from now that we're all going to say, hey, did that shock you, Ryan? I'll bet. Nah, I wasn't expecting it, but it came about, or, we heard it was coming down the pipeline. So I wish more teams would do it because I think it's great for fans. And the pageantry, I heard about some of these teams are doing different things, and I understand. Like, we still involve, look, we'll do I think last year we did a dodgeball thing in the middle of it. We did a big man punt return competition. So you still want to make it enjoyable for everybody involved. But I still believe as many fans as we can go out there and watch their team go out there and compete and practice at a high level.
Are you going to have any new T-shirt messages or any new mantras for this version of the roster?
Yeah, every year in the off seasons, and it's generally right a couple days after the bowl game, and January's have come hectic, as we know, with college football, and even December, like, okay, hey, season's not portal, recruiting, in January you're hectic, and so really you don't get a chance to catch your breath and say, okay, what's my message? Now, obviously the players return mid to late January, and you want to have something for them, but so much of it is just going back to our base fundamentals of who we're all about. Like, what's the culture that we've been able to create? And a lot of times I tell our guys, if the message is working, we're going to repeat that same message a lot and may just say it different ways, right? Like, so we always see that the all in and who we're about, that's always going to stick. Because I still believe, right? Like, if it's not working and players aren't buying in, guess what? It's like what I told our guys, okay, you get a guy like Brad Salem. Brad Salem's now going on his 6th season with me, right? Guess what? He's heard and understands what all in is, and service, sacrifice, and respect, and the way we do things in our culture. It's been shoved down his throat with a fire hose for 6 straight years. But guess what? Now he needs to spread that gospel. He understands that message and maybe teach one of these newer, younger coaches, hey, this is how we do things. This is what it's all about. And then a guy like William Whitlow, right, who had an opportunity, an all-conference D lineman, he's heard it. He understands what it's about. But for him, all it does is he's bought into it even more now. So if I changed it all of a sudden on Whitlow, he'd be like, wait, what is this new monster? What is this new thing? And I've heard a lot of head coaches, they kind of go in with these different ideas, and the players aren't sure what their identity are. Or what the identity is. And I think our guys say, okay, we know what Memphis football is all about. We understand what it takes to be successful in all walks of life, right? On the field and off the field. And we're going to continue. Now, if we have failures and it's based off the way we're doing things as a culture, then that's on me to figure out, is there a new message that needs to be said? But if I feel like we're continuing to have success, and it's only measured by a lot of times by the public and wins and losses, but if I feel like the culture's still intact, the locker room still believes in what we're doing, okay, what's that message, what we're all about, and how do I continue to share it amongst everybody in our program? And that goes for all 200 people, whether it be the grad assistant, the custodian, the general manager, the third string linebacker, the starting quarterback. We all got to be on the same page, and the more and more people understand what we're all about, what it is. Long-winded answer to your question, I'm sure the shirt will say Memphis football and probably all in or some version of it on the back, right? Sometimes we've done it where each shirt has something. Maybe one says attitude, maybe one says now, all those things. We've had service, sacrifice, respect on the back of the shirts. We've had finish in years past, but they're all the same things that guys are going to hear me, right? Leave no doubt, find a way, want to know, 1%. You could probably go through college football, and I bet 60% share the very similar things.
I feel like you've asked about this a million times, the house settlement and the roster limits, especially, like, I know, like, over the limit right now, but every school is, or whatever they're doing. Not even like, are you, but is it frustrating that even now we're sitting here in March and it has not been like ratified yet? Like, this is still all up in the air. We thought last summer that we would at least by now have an understanding of this is the limit when you get to the season. Like, how do you kind of navigate that, or you just take it day by day?
Yeah, a lot of it is, right, hearsay. Hey, this is what's being voted on. This is what's going to happen. This is what's probably going to happen. And that's a dangerous game in college football, because you try to plan for those things, and it's my job as the head football coach here to make sure this organization's on track for whatever's set. And we get thrown curveballs all the time, right? Like, hey, all of a sudden this is going to change, or now the unlimited transfers. I mean, all those things that totally changes the way you operate. They went to unlimited official visits for players. Now all of a sudden schools can do unlimited official visits. That changed everything from a budgetary standpoint, from the way we recruit, all those things. So at least this thing we've been kind of warned about. It's not like we're stepping on the train tracks and here comes the train that we didn't see. So we're doing our best to prepare for it and understand what roster management looks like. But that's what I've come to realize, and this is not a head coach complaining before you come out and saying that Silverfield's bitching and complaining about things. No, I'm just sitting there saying that there's a lot of things that constantly change in college football. And whether we like them or not, we got to be ready. It's my job to prepare to the best of our ability. And guess what? They may say, what if this house settlement doesn't go through? And you got some of these schools that are promising these kids all this money based off the house settlement. What if it doesn't go through? So what I do is I always try to prepare for ourselves. Hey, here's the worst case situation. And then if things occur, here's the best case and what we can do and how we can help you and how we continue to make this thing better for you. So you try to prepare. And it's like no different. I always go back to like the COVID calendar, right? Like, okay, here's the plan, but here's the other plan, and here's another plan. And I try not to worry myself sick about all the things that could and couldn't happen, but be as best prepared as I can be if there is a change of plans and what it may look like.
When we talk about, I know internally you guys have your expectations are what they are, but from an outside perspective, if this was in the past, a team that lost the amount of production that you lost, the public would usually be a little bit more lenient if there was growing pains the next year. But with the transfer portal, just how much does that intensify the need to always win now?
I say it every year, Frank, like no one's going to have higher expectations for this program and the need to win right now than myself. I don't care if it's me as a first-year head coach or if injuries occur or any of that stuff. There's no excuses and there's no explanations. This year, right? I mean, we didn't set out what we meant to do last year, and whether people thought last year was a good season or not doesn't matter. We've got to be better. And guess what? Next year, if we win 12, 13 games, the following year's got to be better. We're always got to set the bar higher and continue competing. So there's no ask for leniency. It's, hey, you've got to continue to take this program to new heights and make sure we're progressing. And like I said, the best way that we can show everybody is by trying to find ways to win more football games, right? To win a championship, to do those things at a higher level. But we can take it one day at a time. So I don't sit here and say, what are the outside expectations? What do people think about these new faces? It's my job to prepare these guys to make sure we are as ready as we've ever been, that we can go out there and compete at the highest level, that every single game we line up with confidence, that we've prepared, that we've got the group of individuals that can go out there as a team and win every single football game. But again, I got to make sure spring practice number one's right, and we'll figure that out and get better, and then we'll look at tomorrow, trying to find ways to get better, and one day at a time approach. And I hope by the time this thing kicks off, you know, it's, hey, the expectations are what they are, right, to go out there and compete for championships year in and year out.
Last year, in this time off season, we're talking about Seth, Chandler, Rock coming back, right? It's all about that and the momentum from last season. They won 11 games, but now, like, a lot of guys are gone. Obviously, you mentioned a couple of guys are back. How do you, like, take the momentum from last season, even though there's so many limitations?
Yeah, I think, you know, we talked about the positives of what it does for a program, right? We talked about the positive winning the Liberty Bowl, right? Playing an Iowa State team and winning that game and getting the 10th win and celebrating in grand fashion. People saying, hey, heck of a year, 10 wins. We've always wanted to win the Liberty Bowl game versus a Big 12 team. That's great. We use that momentum, you know, going into recruiting and understanding what's going on. Then you talk about last year, right? 11 wins, being another Big 12 team. And some of those guys now going on. So how we do is like, hey, that last year was great. How do we get better? And going kind of back to Frank's question is, how do we use, hey, we understand what we're capable of. We understand what the expectations and how we do things and how we work. So it starts with me improving and then everybody else. And with those new guys, they understand when they stepped in, when I recruited those guys, Joe, and I said, here's the expectation. Here's the standards and the way we're going to do things, and this is the way we're going to work, and we're not going to deviate from that. And so when you step into this program, understand this is the only way we're going to do things, and we're going to get better every single day and work hard to be better. And so that momentum, right? And then I also look at all the other positive things that are going, right? We saw this wonderful news with the stadium that's still under construction, even prior, as of right now tonight, they're still probably working as the sun is setting. Right, you look at this academic building that we're building out front. I hope you guys had the opportunity to look at that sign, right? A football academic building. It's going to be built right here in front. Those apartments, right? You probably, you know, look out for some boards and nails pulling into this campus, because we're building these beautiful apartments right here on South Campus. So there's all these wonderful things that are occurring, and the athletic department's at all-time high. So that's all part of the momentum. But for me, I can just only look at the individuals we have now. Okay, you guys understand what it takes and how we go to work every single day and putting our head down. But the nice thing is, on a national level, people recognize, hey, Memphis has a good football program and one of the more consistent programs in college football. It's our job, you know, as the employees here, as a student athlete, as a head coach, and us that work in this program, to make sure that we're meeting those and working up to that every single day.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.